Hello, I am Cameron Green from 102.3 Radio Free KJLH, and I am joined by an incredible panel of experts today as we unpack a very critical issue impacting about 1 in 10 women here in the United States. And I'm speaking of postpartum depression. So if you or anyone who you know is currently experiencing or expecting a little one or a child, or has a family member who you think might be interested in this conversation, we want to encourage you to tell them to join on in because it's going to be some really great information by this powerful panel. I want to move out the way and allow them to introduce themselves. So when I call your name, we'll go around. Please feel free to introduce yourself, what organization you represent, and perhaps your field of expertise. All right, let's begin with Jackie. Good morning, Jackie.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jackie Smith, and I am a mental health professional with the Black Infant Health Program. And I'm loving my job every day.
That's very important. I love that. Thank you, Jackie. Good morning, Keisha.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Keisha Clark, and I'm a mental health professional with the Black Infant Health Program in Fresno. And my background, my trade is social work.
Fantastic. Good morning, Tiffany.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tiffany Gamma. I am a mental health professional in San Diego for the Black Infant Health. I've been here almost 1 year, since November. Prior to that, all of my experience was through military medicine. So switching to being with Black Infant Health, it's been a great experience. You know, it's outside of such a structured world and, you know, just being available for the women. So it's been really great for me.
Fantastic. Thank you. And good morning, Theon.
Good morning. I'm Theon Perkins with Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, and I'm responsible for the north part of the county. And I am a mental health professional. My trade is I am a registered nurse.
Thank you so much. Well, let's dive right in. Jackie, I'm going to kick the first question to you. Tell us a little bit about the Black Infant Health Program. What's the mission and who do you serve?
So I am a mental health professional here in San Bernardino County. So we service the entire county of San Bernardino. The mission of the Black Infant Health Program is to help moms who come into our program to feel supported, to feel empowered, and to reduce their stress. Those are our primary goals at Black Infant Health, but it's so much more. There's so much that just doesn't even begin to speak on what we do here at Black Infant Health. We're a sisterhood for our moms all across the state of California. So I might be here in San Bernardino, but my sisters are in Fresno. You know, my sisters are in San Francisco. So we are a community designed to help moms through their prenatal and their postpartum care for their babies.
So important, so important. And Tiffany, tell me a little bit about the program in terms of who is eligible. So how can one become eligible to participate in the Black Infant Health Program?
So to be eligible to participate in the Black Infant Health Program, you must identify with being African descent, ages 16 and up. And I think just being open to letting others help you and being a part of the community is so important, to know that there's no judgment here. Like, we're all in this together. So.
And that's really important. Community and belonging, I think trust building, right, is super imperative for, I'm sure, for these moms to be able to feel like they have a place to receive help. Keisha, postpartum depression, you know, how might this differ from other forms of clinical depression?
I think the biggest part of it is that it starts with pregnancy and childbirth, right? And so there's those hormonal changes that are playing a part in the postpartum depression, which makes it different from clinical depression. So you might see things like not bonding with your baby, you know, which again is very specific to a mother's experience. You might even, I mean, you experience much of the same thing, but again, it's that onset of it coming during the pregnancy and childbirth experiences.
And that's really important. I think we'll talk a little bit later more specifically about how families can be agents to help identify some of the warning signs and maybe some ways that friends even can even help be able to assist someone. But Theon, I want to talk about, you know, pregnancy is really a joyous time. You know, women and families and friends are usually really excited to celebrate new life, as they should, planning baby showers and occasions. But at the same time, all that excitement can then turn when a mother is impacted by or affected by postpartum depression. Talk a little bit about what happens? Walk us through that process when the mother, after the birth of the baby, begins to display signs. What is she experiencing? Try to take us into that mindset so we can have a better understanding.
Certainly. So there are three portions of this quote unquote postpartum. And the first piece would be postpartum blues, which is the light version of this. It's usually the onset is around the 5th day after birth, and it'll last maybe a week or two, but it resolves. It quickly resolves itself. And some of what Keisha has talked about, people being irritable, just mood swings, not getting any rest, poor appetite, starting to feel hopeless and feel like, oh, I'm not doing this right. And that really is triggered when you're trying to have your baby breastfeed. That's such a thing that will help trigger it. And it's the second version would be postpartum depression, where it's more lengthy and it is becoming more complicated. And the third piece would be postpartum psychosis, where it really becomes a psychotic disorder. As Keisha mentioned, this is all, it's in a spectrum from the least to the most severe. But what I want people to understand is some of those feelings that you talked about in terms of pregnancy and everybody's happy and joy. This is an actual huge psychological, physiological, and endocrinological change in a woman's body. And for us to always just act like, oh, it's fabulous. Well, I can't breathe. You know, I'm so big, I can't breathe. I can't see my feet. You know, all of that is changing. And a woman who, as a young woman, maybe you had this brick house type of body, and now you're looking like the Goodyear, you know, blimp here. It's all really a massive change. So I think women need to understand that some of the feelings that they feel should be normalized. Who has not had a baby and the child didn't sleep? So anyone, especially even more so somebody who's just recently given birth, where they've had a lot of hormonal changes, anyone who hasn't had rest for 4 or 5 days would be slightly labile in terms of their mood, would be slightly like ready to pull somebody's hair, irritable. And we need to, as family members, kind of wrap our arms around young women. I remember you mentioning about your mother and the kind of the old school, you know, a good piece of advice my mother gave me with my first baby was, when she sleeps, sleep. That house will stay dirty. It'll be fine. All those dishes, those clothes you need to do, all of that will be fine. Go and get some rest. So basic things like that, and just having a support system. And I think that's what Black Infant Health is really, really about, around people, and normalizing what they feel is really what's needed.
And that's so important. And Theon, you were talking about a conversation that we were teeing up before we began, right? Really seriously about generational differences. And so Tiffany, talk a little bit about that and how the Black Infant Health program is really working to really support women in understanding that it's okay, that they don't have to be nervous about sharing with their doctors what they're experiencing by way of symptoms.
Yes, so as Theon had just mentioned, you know, like maybe our mothers and grandmothers, or just the stigma of Black women thinking we're strong, we can't show any weakness, you know, no sign of being fatigued or not able to push through, you know, we're superwoman, we can do it all. In reality, we cannot do it all. As a mother, no, you don't have time out, like the responsibility does not end. But I think it's so important just letting the women know, as Theon said, the dishes will still be there. As a matter of fact, we just talked about this yesterday in group. The dishes will still be there. It's okay if you can't go and create a luxurious dinner for your family or whatever. Like, it's okay, because if we as women are empty, then how can we pour into others? So that's a big part of talking to the ladies, whether it's one-on-one and even in group sessions, just empowering them to know that you can do anything, but you have to be kind to yourself in order to be able to do that. Because if you're broken, then you definitely can't give to someone else.
Absolutely. And Jackie, are Black women more susceptible to having PD, and we'll use that term as we refer to postpartum depression, if that's okay. Are Black women more susceptible to that? Are there risk factors specifically for Black women? What are you seeing at the Black Infant Health Program?
Well, what I'm understanding is that the statistics support that Black women are more susceptible to PD for multiple reasons that, would take, a panel, a scientific panel to really completely understand. But from what I've learned here at Black Infant Health, it's kind of like what Dion was talking about, sort of generational myths, that instant reply, I'm fine, I can handle it, I'm a strong Black woman, so I think when you aren't able to recognize that you might have PD, that will definitely tend to increase the PD. So the symptoms of PD, because you aren't even aware yourself that you're struggling. Or if you are, it's not okay to talk about it. I have to be the strong Black woman. And so I think that is part of the problem. I think that's why we were more susceptible to PD, and that why we're more impacted by PD. And I think that Black Infant Health creates an environment, like Tiffany was saying, we have those conversations with them during group and during our life planning sessions. Let the dishes wait. There's no crime against dishes in the sink, but be kinder to yourself. It'll be there. And the one thing I do want to mention too is the idea that God will pull me through. It's gonna take a little more than that to get through PD. It's not the kind of thing that you can pray away. There's some work that needs to be done to help to get through PD.
I really appreciate that. There is something I know in our specific community that, as our new generations are beginning to realize, it's toxic positivity, meaning it's saying you're okay when you're not really okay. And so I love that the Black Infant Health Program is really working to create a sisterhood and a safety net, right, for these women to be able to step up and say, I'm not doing okay, and that it is okay to not be okay, as Theon said, to normalize that. I love that. Keisha, speaking of mood disorders, I want to dive in a little bit more about what those mood disorders are and what they look like. And then how can the family play a role? What does postpartum look like for fathers in terms of, how they can support their partners in making sure that they get the help and the attention that they need?
Well, like you were saying, when it comes to Dion mentioned a couple of the symptoms, feeling the sadness, feeling like you're not bonding with your baby, not sleeping or sleeping too much, or eating too little or eating too much. There's a lot of symptoms that are present, and a lot of it, like Dion was mentioning, should be normalized because again, you're going through a transition in your life, a major transition, and as far as support is concerned, particularly with husbands and non-birthing partners, it's really important that we have conversations and about them getting mental health services as well, because they can also experience postpartum depression. And so it's important that, when we're talking about supporting our birthing moms, that our support system is healthy. I also want to mention, like, being careful with our language, not making a mom feel crazy, not making a mom feel like something's wrong with her. And I love that Theon brought up, sleep when the baby's sleeping. That's what my mom said. That's what my grandma said. That's what my aunt said. But when I had my babies 16 months ago, that was just not happening. And it wasn't the dishes that I was trying to get done. I was just trying to, I had a second by myself, and I just wanted to just have a second, and so it was hard for me to sleep when baby slept. And and I feel like a lot of well-meaning family members, relatives, and loved ones kind of dismissed my experience. And it was like, you should feel happy. You should feel good. You should feel grateful. This is such a great time. Look how cute he is, and it's like, yeah, all those things are true. I am very grateful, for this experience. I'm glad that my baby's here healthy, but I'm not healthy. I'm not okay right now. And you have family members who also will come and they're quick to ask about the baby. Where's the baby? How's the baby? And nobody says, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Yeah.
And really mean it. Like really mean it, like really sit there with you in that dark space and be willing to have that conversation that you're not okay and that you're having scary thoughts. And so I love that about Black Infant Health, because in this position as a mental health professional, not only do I get to work with the moms, but I do get to work with their partners, and I do get to encourage their partners to do the same work. And I get to sometimes work with moms and grandmoms, and we have some really deep conversations when it's welcome. So it's really like healing the generations and healing the family unit and pulling us all together as a team versus it's just me and the mom. It's like, let's do this together. We're her village. So let's, it's really empowering to be in that position.
I'm hearing you say intentionality. Like, so as friends, as someone listening to this, how can they help? I'm hearing you say, be intentional with your asks, right, Keisha? Be intentional with the ways you're checking on your friends. Okay.
Yes, please check on them. Please check on your friends.
And make it a safe space. I think that's what Black Infant Health does, and other groups that we have throughout the county. They make it a safe space, and specifically for African-American women, where they're so scared that if I say something wrong, then there's going to be a case with DCFS against me. So we have to put it out there and tell the real truth. There needs to be safe spaces to say, whose idea was this? Good Lord, I'm tired. This kid won't stop crying. I mean, there has to be safe spaces. And you have to have, even if it's a small village, 2 or 3 people that you can get with and say, okay, I'm tired today. Can you help me? And Keisha, I appreciate your point about you just needed some space to just be Keisha. Just be Keisha. Just be Keisha. So I appreciate you being that transparent and putting that out there, because women need that. And to Jackie's point, it is okay to take off your cape. It's okay to take off your cape.
Yes, ladies.
You know, that is how we are seen as we go into the urgent care. Oh, you're in a little pain? Well, are you Black? Keep tough. I mean, I'm a medical professional, so I know pain is real. These feelings are real, and we have to acknowledge them in our own community. We can't expect others to treat us right if we don't support and treat each other right.
That's right. And Theon, are there treatment options for postpartum depression? And like, what are the things women may need to do to get well? To take care of them?
So there are reproductive psychiatrists that are out there. The Department of Mental Health has a consultant, Dr. Emily Dossett, who consults for our department, but they are scattered all around. And people that are suffering from this disorder, that are pregnant or post-pregnancy, they're able to be treated with medication. There are support groups that are out there. As you guys have talked about, Los Angeles County has the Mamas group that kind of starts with you while you're pregnant and even goes to several months after your pregnancy is over. The Department of Mental Health has several different support groups, and they primarily started in Service Area 1 in the far north part of the county, and they're slowly spreading throughout the rest of the county. But we are training clinicians to be able to speak to these disorders, because these women are coming in our directly op clinics. But also, even just for the community, we've set up some groups. DPH, the whole AIM initiative about African Americans and infant mortality, they've also have different resources. People can call on doulas, look up doulas in their respective areas. And I'm an old school, probably like Keisha's mama, because my baby is 29.
No, you're
yes, yes. And I had honestly never even heard of a doula until I started doing this work. And then my daughter got pregnant and she was like, Mom, I want a doula. And I'm like, I'm clueless that she knew even about that. But just little things to support women. Again, I give the example of my daughter. She was having a hard time breastfeeding, and old school, Mom, okay, then work out, get off my boob. Okay, I'm gonna give you some milk. But she really wanted to do this, and she was feeling some kind of way about it. So I really encouraged her to go and get the training that was out there. It's available for breastfeeding. These are things to mitigate those feelings of overwhelmness and I'm not doing it right. Lots of babies take a while to latch on. It's not abnormal. That doesn't make you a bad mother, but there are all types of little things that we can do to support these Black women, but mainly just to tell them, take off your cape. It really is okay.
Yes.
It really is okay.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Jackie, tell us more about the Black Infant Health Program and the services. So I know that I was hearing a little bit about this stress reduction technique program, which I think is fantastic. I could use that. But you know, how are the services that Black Infant Health, the Black Infant Health Program providing, assisting women? And then tell us a little bit about some of those services. And Tiffany, I'm coming to you next.
So some of the services would include the group intervention. I think what we get a lot of feedback from our moms during the group intervention, that this is where they get to feel like a sister. They get that sisterhood during groups. So during that time, we share resources, we share aches and pains and challenges and successes. Our moms encourage one another and support one another. And they even go on to start their own sister circle, you know, for their cohort. They'll start a sister circle. We've had moms go out and start Facebook pages to continue to support one another. So it's a huge support. That's one of the services, just group alone. But we also work as family health advocates. So we sit down one-to-one with our participants and we go over goals. We set goals, we restructure goals, and we laugh about those ones that are just like not gonna happen, but we still like to talk about them. So that's part of the service. But I think it's just the idea of belonging to a community that seems to be the greatest service to our moms. Just knowing that that there's somebody out there just like them going through some of the same things, who care that they are successful, who care that their lives are improved in some way or another.
And Tiffany, from your lens, what has been the most impactful part of the Black Infant Health Program from your perspective?
I think also the group as well, you know, just being able to sit in and listen to the ladies, because here our FHAs conduct the group meetings, but the mental health professionals and the public health nurses, like they're there on the group. So it's just great to, you know, hear their outlook of things, and then just every once in a while just step in and like empower them, you know, because the whole purpose of the group is to build them, right, and to affirm them. And then after a certain point, like you're excited, you see the growth, you see, just as Jackie was saying, that they do create their own little group. You know, they start sharing phone numbers and saying we should get together, because they realize that with this community in place, like I can do this, you know, like they really feel empowered. And though tomorrow may be a struggle, it's like, okay, I'm not in this alone. I can get through today and tomorrow and able to move forward to the next day. So it's really amazing. Like I can't even explain just how great it is just for me being able to sit in and learn from these other ladies. So it's great.
Well, ladies, this has been a fantastic conversation, and I feel like we could go on and on. I love that this has been really a kitchen table conversation, and something that I think is really important. And as Black women, as women of color, something we often don't get to talk about, our needs, right? Putting our needs first. And so I would love for y'all to go around and just talk about, briefly mention what you want folks to know about postpartum depression, what you want to highlight about it, and also what you want to highlight about the Black Infant Health Program as a solution, as something that can help women to be able to move through and push through this disorder. So we'll begin with Jackie and we'll go around. Jackie, Keisha, Tiffany, and we'll end with Ms. Dion.
So what I want to say about PD is it's not the end of the world. It's just, it's a time and space that with some care and some support, it does not have to go on forever. It can go away. It does not have to stick around. And one thing I'd like to say about Black Infant Health is that we always talk about how wonderful it is for our participants, but as a staff person, it's wonderful for me. I feel fulfilled when I come to work. I enjoy what I do, and it's because of that I feel like anybody I touch at Black Infant Health, I feel like they feel my joy, and that I'm grateful for.
As for me, I feel like what I want to say is your feelings are valid, your experiences are valid, and with professional help, reaching out for support, you can absolutely get through it. You can recover, like Jackie mentioned. As for Black Infant Health, we provide culturally affirmative services for our moms, where we get to be your advocate, we get to be your accountability partner, we get to be your cheerleader, your village. And I think that's the solution. I think when we get to connect in that very meaningful way, yeah, we're definitely able to overcome just about anything.
And for me, I agree with what the ladies have said. It really is a great space for learning. I feel like if you're eager to learn, you can learn just by listening. We don't always have to speak, like listen. And I feel like in addition to empowering the women, share knowledge with them. Some people are embarrassed to ask, or they don't want to seem as if they may be uneducated or whatever, but we always remind the women that it's a safe place, like there's no judgment, there's no bias, like we're really in this together, and just letting them know, we laugh together and all of that, because you want the ladies to be free and just open to talk to you. So even when we do Zoom therapy sessions, we laugh. I love to laugh, it softens the mood. So it's not so like strenuous and just like, we're just documenting. Sometimes it's okay to just freely talk. So I think by taking that into my profession and learning from the group as well, and the ladies, like, there's no limit, like seriously, like it can only get better if we choose for it to be better. It's a mindset first. And just as you were saying, Keisha, it's important to really check in with the ladies. As mommies, people do always say, how are the kids? How are the kids? But what about us? When I was pregnant with my daughter, I remember my good sister friend said, it's just like church, thinking of all this stuff, like, Tiff, you better enjoy this pregnancy, because after you have the baby, like, you don't exist anymore. And I laughed about it, but then later I thought, God, that's really true. Like, what about me? So thank God, like seriously, for the community, because that's really what gets you through.
I want to say about postpartum depression, that literally what Keisha said, you can get through it. And what Jackie said, you can get through it. It's a temporary state. You don't have to stay there. Women that are listening, find your village. Find a village. Black Infant Health, the African American AIM team, the CAT team. There are a variety of different resources out there. The Mamas Group with DHS, if you're in LA County, find you a village. If it's just 3 or 4 girls in your apartment building or wherever you live, find yourself a village. You can get through this. We are better and stronger together. So.
Fantastic. And Jackie, where can they go to learn more about the Black Infant Health Program?
They can go to blackinfanthealth.org. And you can go to your local California Department of Public Health, and we are all over it.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Fantastic. Well, ladies, it's been just a joy and a pleasure to spend this time in conversation with you. It is empowering to see Black women doing amazing things. And I heard some great takeaways, such as sisterhood, safe space, and being intentional, and all of those things coming together to support our mothers, our moms who are experiencing PD or who are expecting, and we're able to lift them up and empower them to let them know that they are loved and cared for. So I'd like to thank Jackie Smith, Keisha Clark, Tiffany Gamon, and Theon Perkins for joining me today for a very informative conversation. For more information about the Black Infant Health Program, go to blackinfanthealth.org. For 102.3 Radio Free KJLH, I'm Cameron Green, and thank you for joining us.